I'm a total adventurist. I really struggle to sit still, and I'm always trying to do kind of pretty wacky stuff, to be honest with you. I've got a couple of world records. Should be proud of them, but for a bit weird reasons, so I'm not sure I necessarily am. But yeah. Got a couple of cats called Josh and Jasmine, which I absolutely love to bits. I'm really into animals and animal welfare, so it's really important to me. So I'm passionate about kind of representing them and making sure they're looked after, and you know, that we've got animals for the future, let's say. For me, you know, I grew up in a really small seaside town where I was really lucky enough to have a stable family background, but nonetheless it was a really challenging environment. For example, my dad worked in the shipbuilding industry in the 80s and 70s when there was a lot of miners' strikes. He was going in and out to work. So we had real kind of challenges in terms of where was the next meal coming on the table, when was the next bit of money coming in. It was really, really difficult kind of growing up in that time. So for me, it's really important, because I've gone through that and kind of come out the other side of it. It's really important that there's opportunities for everybody. So a really key thing for me is I'm really a proud ambassador about apprenticeships. And you know, my background is going into a YTS. So for me, it's about making sure there's opportunities for everybody, no matter what their background, no matter what their previous opportunities have been, but an education and opportunities for everybody. I've never, ever classed myself as a European. Even when I was growing up, I never associated myself. I've always believed and thought that I'm British. Nonetheless, as I've kind of moved on and grown up a little bit as well, is I've never really understood the benefit of the EU. I work in human resources, for example, and I deal with people every day. And if I'd been working with people that hadn't delivered for 40 years, they wouldn't be in the jobs that they're employed to do. So that for me is a real problem. And also, I have a real issue with not having a level playing field. You know, one of the big points of having the European Union is to bring parity. Well, actually, there's less parity now than there's ever been across the EU states, and I think it's just not delivering what it's set out to achieve. Where things fundamentally went wrong is they put somebody who was a Remainer in charge of a country at a time where there was a message and there was a decision to leave the EU. That's where it all started to go wrong, really. And I think we never really went to the negotiating table as negotiators. We went in there asking for, I suppose, a bit of pity, and we went in there too soft, and we never really showed our teeth from the get-go or our negotiating position. And that, for me, is where it's fundamentally gone wrong. That said, it's also about the two-party system is absolutely and utterly flawed, and it's broken, and that's why we need something different. We grew up in a small seaside town where unemployment was extremely high. It was really tough, really an area where there wasn't much opportunity. Once the shipbuilding industry had gone, literally the town was absolutely paralysed where I grew up in. So, for example, it was a bit like survival of the fittest, you really had to work hard and really, challenge the norm to be able to kind of get on in life, really. And I suppose for me, that really kind of shaped who I am and kind of what I became. And I've always been a bit of a doer, because my childhood, basically, because I had to fight for and really work hard, I had to really dedicate myself to making things better and making sure that we had better opportunities than what we had when we were growing up. I've always been really free-spirited as well, and an example of that is my sister, when she was 16, she was unfortunately in a car accident and she broke her leg. Well, I thought it'd be a great idea because she had a Saturday job. I decided that I'd take over that job, so I just pretty much rocked up on the Saturday with my penny in my hand and told them that I'd be taking over moving forward. And that's pretty much kind of how I've been ever since, to be fair. I just try to make the best out of a bad situation, and literally, I always think, how can I be moving things better? How can I be better in myself, and how can I make the best out of a bad situation? That's really kind of who I am and what I'm about. Absolutely. I mean, where I grew up, it was absolutely like typical Labour heartland. So people were very angry. And I mean, you know, when you look at what's happened in Brexit, where it's divided the country in the last 3.5 years, it was actually much worse then. You know, people would literally be stood on a picket line. And if somebody crossed that picket line, families would be ostracised, people would be ostracised. It was really difficult, you know, and it was very much an environment where the men went out to work and they delivered and they put the food on the table, and the women were at home and they were nesting and looking after the family thing. So it was a really divisive time, and quite a brutal time, I would say, as well, really quite brutal. And you know, it does shape you, and it can often shape your views as well in terms of what's right and what's wrong, even though that's not necessarily the case. So I've actually got two, and I would really like to go for a third. So the first one, I was part of the biggest elf gathering at Christmas in a park on the outskirts of Leeds, which is actually quite funny, bearing in mind I'm quite Amazon-like and I'm 6'2" without heels. So green hair, the works, dressed up for that one, and partied like an elf. And then the second one was a gathering of the most people dressed up like Sherlock Holmes, donning a hat, a cape and a pipe, and doing some kind of weird dance to the Sherlock Holmes theme tune. So yeah, like I said, not necessarily something to be proud of, but I'm pleased I've got them nonetheless. No, I wouldn't actually. If anything, feminists really kind of quite annoy me. And I know that's quite a bold statement to make. Like I said, I grew up as quite a tomboy. I don't feel as though I've got to prove myself as a woman. I'm just a person like anybody else. I don't think I should get any exceptions to that, and I don't think I should get any favourable treatment either. I think we've got to be really, really careful about throwing things like that down people's throats. It's something I'm actually quite passionate about, as you can tell. Well, it's interesting actually to ask that question, because I've got, I suppose you could say, quite a checkered past in terms of my voting history. I was brought up to be Labour, and like I say, it was quite a shameful thing if you didn't go down the Labour vote route as well. And I suppose as I matured, I kind of gravitated more towards conservative views. That said, I haven't necessarily always agreed with either party. I've never really stood hard on the left or on the right. I think I'm quite a pragmatic person, really, and I tend to choose a sensible route and kind of what's the best way to get us kind of somewhere or deliver the right outcome. So for me, I've often moved my political position as a result. I've voted UKIP as well. But for me, what really resonates about the Brexit Party, it's not just about Brexit for me, it's about the values that underpin the party. It's about democracy. And it's about getting back to real basics and looking after our sovereignty and getting things right and changing politics for good.
Ant or Dak?
Ooh. Deck.
What football team do you support?
I'm not really into football, but I'd have to go with Hartlepool United because that's where I'm born and bred from.
Red or brown sauce?
Neither. I hate sauce.
Okay, all right. What's your favourite British holiday destination?
I would have to say Glasgow.
Strong. Cats or dogs?
Cats.
What's your phobia?
Sharks. I grew up in the era of Jaws. I literally hate not being able to see the bottom of the ocean.
Give me a hidden talent.
Hidden talent. Oh, I don't tell many people I'm actually quite musical. I can play a number of different instruments and read and write music, but I don't very often say it because I get very embarrassed about it.
What instruments?
I can play the keyboards, the clarinet, I can play the recorder, a little bit of the violin, yeah, piano.
Fantastic. Tea or coffee?
Neither. I'm a little bit strange. It's my inner child refusing to grow up. Diet Coke all the way.
If you weren't in politics, what would be your dream job?
Working with animals, without doubt. I was really lucky enough to go to Borneo a few years ago, and I saw the impact that commercialism has done to their environment. And when you see deforestation firsthand, it's absolutely frightening. So for me, without doubt, I'd be working with orangutans or elephants and trying to save an endangered species. That's what I really care about as well.